This is NRP Radio and NRP Media. The time. Let me do that again. Yes, this is NRP Radio and NRP Media. The time is now 21 minutes now on the downside of 8 o'clock, 21 minutes after 8 o'clock. This is your station for the nation, reaching you where you are. No boundaries, no limitations. Now, time for the program. That's NRP Sports 365 with David Nugent and guest. Stand by. Now over to our presenter and his guests online. Good evening to you, Davian. You are still muted. You're still muted.
Uh, I
There
was
you
saying
go.
good evening, Sir Nash. You hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. So it's all over to you.
Wonderful. Good evening, Jamaica, and welcome to your sports class, where we bring you major stories involving Jamaican athletes, teams, and sporting developments. We'll have news tonight on track and field, where Oblique Seville continues to make his mark internationally, while there is some concern surrounding Sharika Jackson following her latest Diamond League appearance. There's also some encouraging news coming about the National Stadium track. We'll also have information about action involving the Jamaica Kingsmen in the Caribbean Premier League. Football developments at the youth level will also be included in our newscast. We start tonight, though, with news that Jamaican sprint star Oblique Seville delivered another major performance over the weekend, winning the men's 100 meters at the Silesi Diamond League, at the Wonder Diamond League meeting in Silesi, Poland. Seville fulfilled his promise to break the meeting record, producing another statement performance as he completed the 100 meters in just 9.83 seconds, establishing the new meet record. The Jamaican has emerged as one of the world's leading 100-meter sprinters this season. The world champion's latest performance further strengthens his credentials heading into the 2027 season. Meanwhile, there is major concern surrounding two-time world champion at the 200 meters, Sharika Jackson. Jackson was unable to finish the women's 200 meters at the Lausanne Diamond League meeting on August 21st after appearing to pull up during the race. It was a difficult outing for the Jamaican contingent in Lausanne, with the country's athlete missing out on podium finishes. Jackson's situation, however, will be closely monitored, particularly with the major championships coming up in the next couple of years. Jackson has endured injury problems in recent times, and this latest setback is particularly concerning for Jamaican athletics fans. Continuing news on athletics, there was much more positive news from the women's sprint in Dominica. That's the Dominican Republic, as 20-year-old Jamaican Lavania Williams produced a scintillating personal best of 10.90 in the women's 100 meters at the Felix Sanchez Classic in the Dominican Republic. Williams won the race ahead of fellow Jamaican Ashanti Moore, who clocked 10.97. With that 10.97 clocking, Ashanti Moore became the 13th Jamaican to go below the 11-second barrier. The 10.90 new personal best for Lavania Williams was also a meeting record and ranks her as the fifth time this season. And further on, Williams, the former William Knibb and Racees High School, is a former William Knibb and Racees High School standout and is quickly developing into one of Jamaica's most exciting young sprint prospect. There was also strong performances from the likes of Amoy Brown, who ran 12.73 for second in the women's 100-meter hurdles. Commonwealth Games 400-meter hurdles champion Sanique Walker also clocked 54.45 seconds for second in her event. In the men's 200 meters, Christopher Taylor ran 20.39 to finish second. In a major development for Jamaican athletics, the government and Independence Park Limited are now in possession of the official World Athletics certification for the National Stadium track. The certification confirms that the track meets the required international standards to be classified as Class 1. That development is important for Jamaica because the National Stadium is the country's premier athletics venue and hosts major domestic meetings such as the ISA Boys and Girls Championships. The certification should provide great confidence in Jamaica's athletes, coaches, and meet organizers moving forward. To cricket now, and the Jamaica Kingsmen experienced mixed fortune during the past week in the Caribbean Premier League. After recording a convincing 51-run victory over St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots on August 18th, the Kingsmen traveled to St. Lucia to continue their momentum. Jamaica posted 166, but the St. Lucia Kings chased down the target to win by 6 wickets. Camille Pran was the star for St. Lucia, finishing unbeaten on 81, while Matthew Ford produced a career-best 5-wicket haul. The defeat leaves the Kingsmen in a tightly packed middle section of the CPL standings. Now, despite the defeat in St. Lucia, the return of CPL cricket to Jamaica has been one of the major sporting stories for the year. The Kingsmen played 4 home matches at Sabina Park, marking their return to CPL cricket since the first time since 2019. The Jamaican franchise won 2 of those 4 home matches, and that helped them to be mid-pack at the moment in the CPL season table. In football, defending Caribbean Cup champions Mount Pleasant FA have been handed an early setback in their title defense. Mount Pleasant lost 2-1 to Sebao FC of the Dominican Republic at the National Stadium. The Jamaican side created several chances but failed to capitalize, leaving themselves with work to do as they continue their campaign. Moving on now to youth football. At the youth level, Jamaica's under-14 boys finished second in the CFU Challenge Series Tier 1. The young Jamaicans reached the final but were smashed 4-0 by Haiti. The result provides another reminder that while Jamaica continues to produce talent at the youth level, there is still significant work to be done in the technical development of youth at the youth level. And finally now, at the schoolboy level, fans don't have to wait much longer for the return of ISA football season for the year 2026. The 2026 ISA football season is scheduled to kick off on September 12th with a football rally planned to officially launch the campaign. With the new school year approaching, schools across the island are preparing their teams for another highly competitive season. This year's 2026 ISA football competition will see a change in format, as there will be a 2-tiered system with seeded teams advancing to the second round, while unseeded teams will have to play off for an opportunity to make it to the second round. And that's where we end the sports class today. It's been interesting what has happened over the last 7 days or so, and we'll continue to monitor the situation as it relates to cricket and allow you to know what is going on in the CPL 2026. But I want to introduce my guests tonight, and we'll have a discussion on all these things: cricket, football, track and field. I think we'll start with track and field, but as I said, let's introduce my guest tonight, Dr. Ashay Hudson. Doc, how are you doing? Ashay, you
Imagine
hear
that
me?
this one. I'm a little bit under the weather, but I'm trying to be good. It's really hot here, but otherwise I'm okay.
Good to hear. I see you're recovering from the flu. I know we were supposed to have you on last week, but you're a little bit under the flu. It's good to see that you're able to be with us today. And so we're not gonna prolong things. We're not gonna hold you too long. We want to get the discussions out of the way as quickly as possible. But let's move. I want to start, since you are a medical expert. I know you haven't examined her, you haven't looked at her any at all, but Shericka Jackson, the situation with Shericka Jackson, you would have seen her go down. What was your first impression, um, seeing her unable to complete her 200 meters race in Lausanne?
Well, the truth about it, David, the first thing that any Jamaican, like many other Jamaicans and supporters of Shericka Jackson, your first reaction would have been not again, because this has been a real tough 3 years for her. And we thought she had finally turned the corners and was looking to get back to close to, if not at her very best. So when we saw her ground into that alt in the race and the manner in which it was done, it then says to us that this looks like it's gonna almost be a turning point in Shericka's career, because the nature of the reaction, rather, the reaction that we saw as she came to that abrupt stop was suggesting that she felt something uh, that was significant. And it looked from her, based on the pattern of her stopping and also the manner in which it went down, it suggests that it was posterior. So it could have been the hamstring. We're not sure just yet what it is, as we have not received any medical update on her, but it looks to be an hamstring issue. And anytime you see an athlete sustaining an hamstring issue, it begs the question of how bad it is. Because this is now where you're gonna wonder, is this gonna take her out for the rest of the season and potentially for next season? How does it affect next season and those things? So I was really shocked to see it happening all over again, because it almost is a replay of what I saw before. And I was super sad to know that she has really worked so hard to get to this point, and for this to happen is just unfortunate.
You spoke about it has happened before, because it did happen before, and it has taken her, I'd say, the better part of a year to get back into some sort of semblance of what she was able to produce at her peak when she ran 10.65 in 2003. This, depending on how serious it is, we don't know yet. As you said, I haven't gotten an update. We haven't heard whether it's a tear or a strain, or what grade tear or strain it is. So we don't know. We're shooting in the dark, literally. But as I reminded somebody very recently, Shericka Jackson is now 32, so she's on the other side of that 30-year uh, mark. She's 32. She's injured again. She's been injured better part of the last 2 years. Is it that we're seeing the last of a great athlete? I mean, I saw this with Alison Felix when she was getting to that point of slowing down a bit. You saw the injuries year after year, got injured. Is it that we're now looking at a Shericka Jackson who is now slowing down?
So what I think that is really concerning for me is that yes, Sherika is getting older, has gone older, and not too long ago, I think it was 2024, that it was about mid-summer 2024, running at 200 meters, if you can remember, Davian, that's where she got injured. And I'm beginning to worry because Sherika's created a lot of history, and actually she's the fastest living competing female over 200 meters, and I've run some of the fastest times that we have seen in this recent modern track and field. And to know that the event that she does best in, she has really achieved the most in, is the event that really has dealt her two significant, what you would say, setback. Because 2024, it did set her back, causing her to really had an underpart 2025, miss 2024 for the most part. Well, thereafter, after the injury in July, miss 2025, getting back herself ready for 2026, even though it was a championship year. What comes next year is very significant for her and the year to follow. And to know that she'll probably have to go back to the drawing board for better of a better expression to get things ready for a tough year, if you ask me, competitive year coming next year. Um, I really worry now because I'm not sure if she was able fully back to her best or close to her best or running without some significant treading on the tires. Because if you heard Davian what she said going into the meet, sounded like she had some doubt in her ability physically, though most of it was being mentioned in the mental department. I'm not convinced that she was back to her 100% best. And to then sustain another injury or a similar injury, it then caused me to wonder, can she come back? I am hopeful, but I will not be too surprised, Dave, that even if she comes back, she's not nowhere close to where she was before.
Yeah, I agree. I think the clock is ticking on Sherika Jackson. I'm not saying she won't be a factor, but I don't see her getting back to 1065. And I was saying to somebody today, because it was a thing that folks were tracking early in the season in terms of the amount of ladies, Jamaica ladies who have gone sub 11. We had number 13, not today, but on the weekend, we had number 13. That was Ashanti Moore, who went 1097. So we have 13 ladies who have gone sub 11 this season. So it's not as if she's going to be coming back to a playing field. And we're not talking about internationally with the Alfreds and the Shakaris and the Melissa. We're just talking about from a Jamaican level to make the team, to make that top three. She's going to be coming back into a situation where there are literally dozens of athletes who are going to be chomping at the bit and who are rapidly improving. So even if she comes back and let's say she makes that semi, she's going to have to run two hard races to make the team. She's going to have to run a hard semi and she's going to have to run a hard final to beat these girls.
And I think one other thing we have to factor in, Davian, if you remember last year when she recovered, she opted to run the 200 meters as opposed to the 100 meters. And what really concerned me most for Sherika is that though I figure that her chances locally of making another team against our local proper girls, you just spoke about the 13th young lady for the season getting below that magical 11 seconds barrier. I still think that the 200 meters is going to always be Sherika's challenge because that power, speed, and the navigation of a curve. That curve, if you saw Davian, she ran that curve, in my estimation, with a measure of exerting more than I probably wanted her to on Saturday. And I really thought she was trying to probably test her body going around that curve to see how best she could have conserved in the stretch. And each time now that she'll have to navigate that curve, So the power and the speed. So to get into the curve, you start, that's where 100 meters they accelerate for the most part. But you have to come up that curve with certain advantage. And I think if Shericka cannot run a good curve, it's gonna set her back significantly. And she may probably consider options running the 200 meters in the future, but it's gonna be so challenging making the 100-meter team. And 200 meters seem to where most athletes shy away from. So it almost begs the question, which event will she then decide to compete in? If she decides to compete in just one event in the next probably 2 years, two, what would say, better years of her career that is, as you alluded to, is winding down.
Sounds as if, coach, I'm saying, coach. Sounds as if, Doc, you're saying that the power and the speed that she's bringing to that curve is causing her body issues.
So
Is
if
that
the
what you're
so the
saying?
body, so the thing is that if the body is not in its finest shape, and to manage that speed and to make that sharp turn from that curve, which really requires a lot. So contrary to what people think, and you hear people say, that, at least say from that, I have to run the curve hard. It simply means that the measure of power that requires to get that curve and is a tight bend is not a lot of time you can spend on that curve. It puts a lot of demand on the body. Though, as I said, in the home stretch, it is a quick acceleration, and a lot of people would think that 100 meters predispose you to getting these injuries that comes with acceleration and increased velocity. The 200 meters have a greater dynamics for risking your body because that two-phase running, coming out of the first 100, yes, you might be able to control coming, but once you approach that curve, you have to generate some amount of force and speed and control coming around, putting the body in a certain posture. Again, to set yourself up for the last 100 meters, it requires so much, not to mention the endurance that you need thereafter. It requires so much. So my best bet, if her body, if her physical structure is not at least 95% its baseline, I don't foresee that Shericka is gonna be competitive as she wants to be over 200 meters. And that's when I say competitive at 21.6, 21.5, those are gonna be the markers that she'll have to achieve to get on the podium. So we're not talking about, she was fortunate to have gotten the bronze medal at the last championships, which I think the 200 meter was not at its highest level that it has been over the years in terms of competitiveness. So I'm wondering again. I'm not a coach, I'm not an expert, but just understanding the simple and the basics of what it requires for you as an athlete to put your body through and the anatomy that you're working with. It's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot, David.
I completely agree. I think at this stage, it's about management for Shericka. It's about how do you manage the load? How do you manage the the pressure of competing and keeping up with what is getting seriously hot in terms of female sprinting. And we want to talk about two of those things before we move on to the male side of things with Oblique Seville. Want to talk about, first of all, Lavanya Williams. She's now at 10.90. She's just 20 years old, Lavanya. And she's getting better and better and better. It seems as if every time she races. She's not the completed product by any stretch of the imagination. There are aspects, I think, where I think she can improve. And for me, that is a scary thing, because if you see where she can improve, you see where technical adjustments can be made. And this 20-year-old athlete is already at 10.90. How good is this girl? How good is Lavanya? Is she going to be a serious contender in the next year, 2 years, 3 years? Lavanya Williams.
So you said something that's very interesting. That Lavanya is not the finished product, but
No.
she is, from what I understand and what I gather and also surmise, is that she's the kind of raw product that any coach would delight in having. And I just was watching a newscast this afternoon, and I heard her coach in Michael Fritter speaking about her approach to the event, the whole track and field event, much more the 100 meters that she has seen this season. It is something that is remarkable. The way she shows up for training, she doesn't take days off. My apologies for the background there. She doesn't take days off. She really does more than or go above and beyond what is required of her. And that then strikes a nerve in my head, Davian, because it reminds me of a story I heard of a young Johan Blake in his day when he was getting ready to launch an assault on the track and field world. And we know what happened thereafter. Had it not been for the heights that Usain Bolt went, Johan Blake would have been the best we have seen over both distances. And it goes to show you that when somebody can speak so highly about a young lady's approach and attitude to training, and you'd have seen it, Davian, moving down your personal best, but I think it was by 0.55 seconds this whole season. I think she comes from a level 0.4 starting the season
Yeah, man.
to now be at
She
10.9.
started the season with 11:45.
Exactly. And to be at 10.9, Davian, that is no joke. I have seen many others accomplished stars or stars that we thought would have made big transition over a season. Incrementally has not done what Lavanier has done over this season. And I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, because guess what, Davian? She's getting the kind of exposure both nationally and on the circuit. She's getting that exposure, and people are beginning to understand that this young lady is another one that you'll have to look forward to see. Not only the twins and the others that are there that we thought would have been the ones would be making most of the noise. Lavania is now, to me, I wouldn't say a dark horse, but is somebody now that I think, having not spent most of her cash in high school, has a lot more to offer to the world. And I am really interested to see what she does next year, because regardless of what else she does this season, she has already overachieved. Overachieved. And I think she's not done yet, because she has another meter or two, I understand. And then she's going to come out next year and launch an assault, both at the local circuit and go on to that World Championship and at Olympic Games in 2028. We have said it so many times. We're looking for the next big thing. I think if we talk and continue to look forward and be hopeful, I think Lavania has to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I agree. She has to be in our conversation. I mean, when you look at her, I mean, lower classes, she had some success at champs, making finals, and I think may have made a podium here and there. But she did not have the profile of, let's say, the twins, who as junior athletes were smashing everybody and winning titles. Didn't have that profile. But now, as a senior athlete, she's already caught up with them practically. I mean, one of the twins has gone 10.7s and one has gone 10.8, but she's not far behind. When you look at that gap that was there in the junior years as opposed to the gap that is there, she's closing that gap rapidly. And I think she's going to be a serious contender in a year or two. I think next year is the critical year for me. If she improves next year, and as I said, there are obvious areas, technical areas, apart from her getting older, getting stronger, getting faster naturally, there are obvious technical areas where fixes can be made. And so if those fixes are made, if she gets stronger, she gets faster, and most importantly, stays healthy, and she improves next season, let's say to a 10.7, she becomes a serious contender. And I don't think it's that big of a gap. I mean, from 10.90 to 10.79, it many people don't ever get there, but I do believe that she has that scope to get there, Lavania Williams. Talking about 10.78, Melissa Jefferson Wooden 10-7-8. 10-7-8 to win that major matchup that Sharika should have been a part of in Sleazy the 2 days after Sleazy. I was wondering how that would have worked for Sharika, by the way, because I was saying you run on the 21st, you're going to run on again on the 23rd. I was wondering how that was going to work. But that big matchup, Julian Alfred, Shakari Richardson, the Clayton twins, Brianna Liston, Melissa Jefferson. Melissa Jefferson won and won relatively easily. How good is Melissa Jefferson right now?
Oh, good, very good. I mean, one thing for certain, Davian, is that Melissa has really grown into the sport to the point where I think outside of what I saw from Shelley and Fraser Price, and of course I'm gonna go there, I've not seen a more confident and consistent sprinter, a developing consistent sprinter since Shelley and Fraser departed, or when Shelley and Fraser was on the circuit. Many others would have come and gone. I'm not saying they were not doing good things or doing outstanding things. But to be consistently winning and dominating, I think Melissa's really, I think this is probably her 12th race or 11th race that she has not lost since last year. And I think every time she shows up, she's confident they'll have to beat her. And that is the kind of approach and the argument that Shelley and Fraser have had when she was competing. She just shows up to the line and she was confident. She's running in her own lane and they have to just come good to beat her. And I think we have seen the best of the best going at Melissa Jefferson. We talk about Julian Alfred, Shakara Richardson, Sherika Jackson, all the best we had now, the Clayton twins. They have been going at her, and yet still she steps up at every instance. And on Sunday, that was a classic display again of confidence and just sheer brilliance and ability in her ability. Because the year before, 2025, she ran 10-6 at this very same meet. And yes, people were like, oh, she had much more target then because she was preparing for the World Games. But no, it's an off season. But one thing is for certain is that Melissa Jefferson is still the one to beat this year. And she's now looking forward to the World Ultimate Championship and 10-7 at this point in the season, not running as consistent as frequent as she did last year, is to me outstanding, impressive for her, because I now look forward to a faster time, and I think she's going to get to 10-6 before the season closes, albeit with just a few more weeks to go.
Yeah, interesting. I think Melissa Jefferson. Well, let me ask a question before I make any comment. There is, well, I saw a suggestion on somewhere online that Melissa Jefferson is the number one sprinter, female sprinter in the US right now. She's the number one female sprinter in the US right now. But she's treated like number two, and Shakari is treated like number one, even though the performances don't reflect that. I want to get a quick comment from you about that.
I mean, anybody comes with that argument, David, and it's hard to refute it. You know why? I'm still shell-shocked that last year, based on the season that Melissa Jefferson had, she did not even get the kind of recognition or the due reward in terms of being recognized for her effort. She was not nominated for none of the major awards, especially for the World Athlete of the Year. I was shell-shocked that she was not even considered. And when I saw many local media houses from US, how they portray her, it's almost to suggest to me that they are not confident that she is the darling of US sprinting now. Yes, Shakari would have had some interesting past, some outstanding achievement, but for the last 2 seasons, it has been Melissa that has been leading the way. I think Shakari probably has run 10-7 this year, and probably faster in terms of time. But look at it, when Shakari gets to the line against Melissa, they are training partners. And of course, Shakari has some strengths that we are used to, her top end. But I think she has really lost that mental battle as in regards to challenging Melissa. She has probably, not saying that she will not rise again, but for now, I think Melissa has the ticket on her. But again, Melissa is not the one that is spoken about much. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, she's treated as the bridesmaid rather than the bride. When we know, based on her achievement for the last 2 seasons, she deserves better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's kind of funny. Yes, Shakari has run fast. Yes, she has won. She has won. But when you look at the resumes of both athletes, in terms of who has won more, you look at who has ran fast. Melissa is as good or better than Shakari, but I suppose that's not what sells in America success. But
I mean, the unfortunate thing, David, is the completeness of Melissa because look, Melissa has achieved the ultimate, at least at the World Champions, over the 2 distance. And to
yes,
me, she's a complete sprinter. When you can have somebody that can run 21 over 200 and 10-6 over 100, that's and not many sprinters. Elaine Thompson, those are the kind of persons who have done it. Shakari, even though she won at the highest level, she has yet to do anything significant over 200 meters. I think that's where Melissa has the edge over her. She is, to me, a more complete sprinter, and therefore, when you're gonna judge them based on abilities, I think Melissa gets the edge, even at the starting of her career. Because I think Melissa is just getting started. If you ask me, she's just getting started.
yeah, I think so as well. Um, I mean, it for me, it's kind of unfair how the American public treats Melissa. She is as good, or maybe even better than Shakari, and she deserves more. Let's move on to oblique. Oblique. I mean, it's been an oblique looking season for men's 100-meter sprinting in Jamaica, except for oblique. No Kishane, who hasn't run since I think about March. No Brian Lavelle, who picked up an injury. Akeem Blake has been struggling, but Oblique Seville has been doing the job.
The lone man in the wilderness. Really and truly. But when you say that thing about it, Oblique just wanted that one moment. And I think he has finally gotten that monkey off his back, to say a better way. And I think now Oblique has really transcended now to a different level in terms of understanding his talent, understand what is required of him, and also most significantly understand what it means to be a competitive sprinter. You cannot lay claim to certain fame or status or want to be classified or placed in a certain conversation unless you are able to do or produce the result. And I think Oblique is gradually growing into that company of sprinters who we can trust to step up to the line. Even in the face of a single defeat, you can rebound and rebound quickly. And I think that's the kind of a maturity I've seen this season with him. Yeah, we had an incident the last time he lost the race, and people were making a big albaloo about a youngster beating him and etc. etc. And he made an hint and said to them, listen, me, I was just getting started in the season. You don't have to worry about what you saw then. The next time I step on the track, I'm gonna show to you that I am still the one to beat. And on Sunday, that run was that kind of run. If you should describe the run or ask, well, in my opinion, that run was saying I can beat just about anybody you throw at me this season and probably in the seasons to come. So Oblique is the man right now. Hands down. I just think that I am excited to see what he does in I think a few more weeks when the ultimate comes around, because he looked very easy and control on Sunday. And now that's what impressed me the most, David. And so when you can run with such level of confidence and control, brilliant. Meeting record, brilliant.
Yeah, I think Oblique has moved to a different level. And for me, I think that the difference is not the speed, it's not the technique, it's not the strength, his core strength, but the fact that he's been able to stay healthy. I mean, every time in past years when Oblique ran fast, he got injured. If it's not the toe, it's a hamstring, it's something. But he seems to be able now to run fast, recover, and be able to run fast again. I mean, granted, he's had a 6 week break, but him being healthy has to be a boost to his confidence as well.
Definitely. And I think sometimes that's the greatest, what you said, demon that a lot of athletes have to fight. You don't want to be performing and knowing that you're not at your peak or your best that you can be, or you believe what you can be. And I've seen Obliques in interviews being very candid about the struggles he had trying to get to optimum fitness and staying there. And I think once those issues were sorted out or corrected to as best as it is right now, it then allows for everything else to fall in place. And I think that is what he is gonna count on for the rest of his career. Once he stays fit, once he's able to keep himself under a certain condition. Because I remember he said after the last race that he needed to get his body to a certain shape, including getting his weight down. And once he was able to make that self-assessment and quickly made an adjustment, and you saw him looking a lot leaner on Sunday. So therefore, you know that Oblique now will want to trust his body once it is in 100% as best as it can be. Once he knows he's there, Davian, the rest is gonna be simple because the young man has speed. There's no doubt about it. He has a speed. Once the body cooperates, the best is yet to come. I think you're muted, Davian.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I apologize. I was saying Noah Lyles is not very active this year. He's pretty much taken the year off, gotten married and looks comfortable. But next year is a world championship year. We start again the cycle next year. Oblique Seville set himself up to be the man to beat next year, or is Lyles, as he says, still the fastest man alive?
I mean, if you look at it, Davian, those top contenders are Oblique's fiercest rivals over the last 2 seasons have really been quite the season. There's no Kisha in terms of competing, and we can virtually say that it's a close season for him. Noel Lyles, I understand, still has aims and ambitions to be at the World Ultimate, but running sparingly for me, I don't see him probably choosing to come over the more competitive distance or the more challenging distance terms. I don't think he's gonna come anywhere down to 100 meters, and I doubt Oblique is gonna go up to 200. So they may never match up this season. If either if Noah goes to the ultimate, because I know that Oblique will be at the ultimate in the 100 meters. There are other guys like Christian Coleman you saw on Saturday getting accredited third, Kenny Bednarek, Tobago, the Africans are there, Jordan Anthony, those other youngsters that are coming through. They are the ones now people are looking forward to challenge Oblique. But I just think they will have to come good. They'll have to come good because one thing Oblique has that they don't have. Oblique has that confidence and that note of winning. He has tasted victory at the very highest level, and he knows how to stand in his lane under pressure and compete. Not saying the others don't have it at a lower level because they have been doing well at the collegiate level and they have done that over the circuit. But I think Oblique has put forward himself or shown himself in the ring as the lead contender for the at least the 100-meter title going into next year. And that is based on what he has done so far this year. And I'm gonna also say based on what he will do at the ultimate. I mean, we're not predictors of what can happen then, but he is in a form and in a shape, which I think he's gonna get that 9.8 down probably to a 9.7 when the world ultimate comes around. And if he gets to that point, Davian, where I think sprinting for the last couple seasons has been at 9.7. Nobody has really reached that. Enough for us to think that we're getting back to the era of Usain Bolt. I don't think we'll ever probably see that in a probably not a decade or so. But 9.7 is where Oblique is gonna probably stay consistently for the rest of this season, and I think it's gonna propel him into next season. So you're muted again, Davian.
I have to remember to do that, to unmute myself. Apologies. So we're switching gears a little bit away. We're going to the Kingsmen, the Jamaica Kingsmen. They are in a tough position. So I said we'd keep a track of what is going on in the cricket. So we'll let you know what's going on with the cricket. So there's a match going on actually right now. Antigua and Barbuda. That's Antigua and Barbuda Falcons going up against the Barbados Tridents. Oh my word! Look at how that match just swung. So the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, they made 155 for 5 with Moin Ali, Captain Moin Ali, making top score 56. Abir Django, who interestingly is doing wicket-keeping duties, made 26 and Gore made 27. So those were the top scorers for the Falcons. Sams got a wicket and Rahman got a couple. But as I said, 155 for 5, about par score. And Barbados Royals, they were cruising to victory at one point, absolutely cruising at 93 for 3. 93 for 3. I mean, with just about, what was that? 7.5 overs to get just about 62 runs. I mean, that's gettable if you have wickets in hand. But it's been a dramatic change in that match. So at 93 for 3, as I said, the Royals well in it. And then there was a dramatic change. So Joshua James, first of all, he got the wicket of Kevlon Anderson for 22 of 16, caught Springer ball. Joshua James, 22 from 16 deliveries. And then immediately followed that up with the wicket of Rutherford, hard-hitting middle-order batsman Sherfane Rutherford, gone first ball. And that was in the 13th over. And then at the start of the 14th over, it was Shahib Khan, who got a wicket. And that was, well, look at this. The Royals are absolutely imploding. So, as I said, Khan got the wicket of Rivaldo Clark at the start of the 14th over, well, the second delivery in the 14th over. And then he's gotten a second wicket now in the over. So that is Moti. Moti has gone. Caught Jaden Seals bowled Khan. So 4 wickets have gone down for 2 runs. So the Royals have moved from 93 for 3 to 95 for 7. And they are in a little bit of a bother now, the Royals. As a matter of fact, I'd say the Falcons are in firm control, which isn't necessarily good news if you're a Jamaica Kingsman supporter, not necessarily good news because the Falcons are probably one of the teams that we have to catch. The Royals, they have a couple of more matches in hand. This is their third match. Yeah, it's their third match. They've played two before, 1-2. And so this is their third match. And Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, this is their seventh match. They've won 3, lost 3, and we're 2 points ahead of the Jamaicans. But it looks as if they're going to extend that lead now with what is going on in the match. So let's give you the roundup. So Guyana Amazon Warriors, they're perfect so far. 3 wins, 3 matches, 3 wins, 6 points. And St. Lucia Knights, the St. Lucia Kings, they're on 6 points as well. 3 wins, 3 losses. Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, they're third in the table. 3 wins, 3 losses, 6 points. So that's the top 3. Fourth position, the Royals, Barbados Royals. They have 2 wins from 2 matches so far. Then Jamaica in fifth with 2 wins from 6 games. Then it's that's the Trinbago Knight Riders. 3 matches, 2 losses, 1 win. And then the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots, 4 games, 3 losses, 1 win. So Jamaica sitting 5th right now. 5th right now. We've lost 4 matches. The team not necessarily doing well right now, O'Shea.
I mean, I don't know. You prompted what I wanted to say. The only thing that is probably working for the Kingsmen this year, or the only year they're winning in, is I think they have the leading run scorer in Ravman Powell, and they probably have the player who have hit the most sixes in Andre Russell, and those are 2 veterans. Otherwise, I think our chances of finishing any better than 5th where we are now, if not worse, has gone, because in our home, or you say our advantage period, or what you call a power play period, playing at home, we did not capitalize on all the matches that we should have won. And now things are pretty much out of our hand, because most of the teams like the Barbados Pride have only played 2 games, and they are just 2 points behind us, which speaks to how badly we have performed. You talk about the Antigua, they are having their home series now, and they're trying their best to maximize on all the home games. They're in their 7th game, of course, but we are still gonna have a difficulty, because what I think Jamaica's challenge is, and it almost mirroring what West Indies' challenge is being consistent. We have played some very exciting matches where we find it so much easier, Davian, in my opinion, to challenge some big scores, even under the highest of pressures, even though we implode and we blunder when things would have looked advantageous for us. It is so hard for us to put up some decent scores. And I'm wondering to myself, is it that they thrive better putting themselves under pressure, under which in few instances where once they get the peak pressure, they are likely to lose out. Not saying they will not win on one or a few occasions, but they like the pressure, but they don't always come out the victor under pressure. But when they get the chance to put another team under pressure by putting up good scores, bowling well, they don't do it. And I think that is where we need to get a lot of work done for the rest of the season. The bowlers have to be consistent. The batsmen, when it comes on to batting first and setting targets, they just have to believe in themselves. I don't understand what chip or what switch turns on in their head when they are chasing the 200 runs on the board and getting close to and surpassing it at times. But when it comes on to setting a score, they're setting 120s and 130s and the 90s. Those are not going to be any good scores for a team. The composition of the team is also not my most favored or like in team in terms of how it looks. But I think they still have the ability to do much better than they're doing now.
Yeah, that last point for me hits home. I mean, other than Rovman and Andre Russell, and maybe Springer in a game or two, I don't think anyone has really stepped up. I mean, even the stats that we're looking at, most runs or most wickets or whatever it is, you're at that position because you've played more games than everybody else. And so you should not really be in a competition with everybody else. You should be moving away. You should be twice or three times the amount of runs that everyone else has. So I
So
don't think the
that's what I
team.
was saying. I was saying to you that when you got your chance, you have to, each team will get, so people, those who don't understand, each team will get their turn to have a series of match. And therefore, you're going to use home advantage and you're going to set yourself or pile on enough points by winning games and set yourself up in a situation where your least challenging games are the home games. But Jamaica has really blundered much in their home games, and now their chance of winning on the road. I mean, it's not impractical, it's not impossible, but it's so much harder to win games away. It's so much harder. So that we should have been at top of the point standing, or at least higher up, with the hope that the teams that are going to play their home series will have to work twice as hard to catch us. Now we are going to be so far behind, yet going into their territories trying to win against them when they'll have home advantage. So, and again, let me say the point, David. I don't know. You said Andre Russell has been doing, but you see, we should not be relying on an Andre Russell in 2026 as the key man or the talisman for us. Because Andre Russell, like we know, has ability. What he's lacking is consistency. He has done well in a few of the games with the bat, but as we realize, he gets a good knock in one game, and by the next match, they get his wicket very cheap. Even though he tries as best as he can, once he fails with the bat, to rebound with the ball. So we have to really move beyond Andre Russell. And to me, Ragman Powell is not giving his best, but he's been the most consistent so far.
Which young player? I mean, well, let me put it to you. The Puran's brother, Camille Puran. Have you seen him? I mean, I saw that 81 that he made against the Kingsmen. He's impressed me a little bit. What do you think about the youngster, young
I
Puran?
mean, good talent. A good yes, and what for sure you see glimpse of his brother. So he has taken a few things or two from his brother. You see those, but look at him in his and based on his own merit. I think he's a very exciting young player. He looks very smart at the wicket. That's what I really love about how he approaches the game. And I'm thinking that his level of development, because to be told, I was not looking at him throughout much of the season before. So I really didn't really have a microscope over him. But what he has done so far, Davian, says to me that he really, just like the likes of a Vital Laws, they are learning on the job and learning quickly. So that is what encourages me. They're learning on the job, learning quickly, and that's what you can ask of a young player. Getting the exposure is one, but capitalizing on it is two. And if you have talent, what talent always requires is a platform to showcase it. And I think he's been one of the ones that have really stepped up to say that he's there now and he's also gonna be for the future.
Yeah, young, just turned 20,
Yeah.
very young, and is impressed. You mentioned Laws as well. So there is some talent coming through. Question, though, as we saw with his brother Nicholas, is whether that talent will stay where it is needed. The West Indies need the Puran brothers. One has already said, I'm out of international cricket. And that is a challenge that the West Indies has faced over the last probably decade and a half. Getting the very, very, very best players to suit up in the West Indian colours. I think that is going to continue to be a challenge. But looking at the, as I said, the young talent you see coming through, the Laws, the um, Purans, the Camille Purans, and others, and of course some of the more established players, but who some of the players were relatively new. I mean, I saw Shamar Joseph the other day taking 3 wickets for his team, and he was bowling with fiery pace. Saw him knocking over his West Indian teammates, Alzari and Jaden Seals, and it was 2 brilliant deliveries. Pace and pace and pace. Looking at what you're seeing from these young players, do you see a brighter future for West Indies cricket around the corner, or is it that we're looking at more of the same?
I mean, uh, we have been on this road before, David, and that's the truth. We have seen so many young talents at the time. They were young and promising, and we were saying West Indies is finally going to turn the corner. I remember when Ed Meyer and even young Radman Powell, they were coming through, and we were really hopeful that they would have been the future and would have made a significant turn in West Indies fortune. Do I winning under 19 World Cup and performing well in successive seasons did not help West Indies claim. Am I gonna go out on a limb and say with this current crop that includes Joseph and those, West Indies can relive some of those great days or glory days? I'm just hopeful, and I'm being very honest because I don't know if we have established our cricketing formula yet where most of these youngsters came into the game when West Indies was struggling or getting from bad to worse, we call it. So all they saw was a West Indies who there was not much to impress them. And I think they came in under that same kind of culture now where they are finding it hard to step up and rewrite the script for themselves. They have talent. I say it over and over to many people. What most of our sportsmen, including a cricketer, does not lack is talent. They have it, Davy, and they find it. And when they are young, they just give you that kind of hope and that kind of excitement. And as soon as they probably get into the senior setup, every time you see them, the sheen is rubbing off more and more. So I'm really gonna say if they continue to do the right things, because I think the fundamentals of cricket is what is lost a lot of time among the seniors. They don't do the simple things right, Davian. And I always tell myself, if you're playing cricket for many years, the things that you do at the development stage and coming to the ranks, all you need to do is try to do them a lot more consistent. I'm not saying you're gonna develop, of course, but if you cannot do the basic things, Davian, and do it 5 times if you're called to do it on 5 occasions, at least 4 to 5 times, you're not really gonna factor. You're not really gonna factor. And so that is where I am hoping that they see for themselves and start to believe in their own abilities. And really, when they step up to that circuit, whether it's for their local country in the West Indies setups, or when they put on the West Indies, when this West Indies uniform, that they have to start recognizing that there's a rebuilding process that West Indies need, and we're depending on them. I'm not gonna say they are gonna be the answer, but they can be the answer.
Mm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what's happening. And as I said, I'm looking forward to seeing how some of these young players or they transition. A quick update of the match between the Falcons and the Royals. So the Royals they had progressed from 95 for 7 to 114 for 7. They've just lost their 8 wickets, so they're 114 for 8 now. And yeah, all on the shoulders now of their captain Cameron Green, who's 7 from 6 deliveries. The Royals they need a further, well, That's 41 runs from just about 20 deliveries. So required rate of 12.3. So match is going to be over in a little bit from now. And as I said, the Royals, after being in a strong position, they've lost a cluster of wickets, and they will have to somehow fight back. It's getting more and more difficult for them. Very difficult for them now. Another dot delivery there, and it's now 19 deliveries left, and they still need 41 runs for victory. Let's look though at the team who looks to be in command. They've done everything right so far, and they haven't played as many games as Jamaica. They've played about half the number of games. They're unbeaten so far. One of two teams unbeaten. And it does look as if after tonight it's going to be one unbeaten team. And that's again Amazon Warriors. And they have a very good set of players. We mentioned a few of them earlier. Shea Hope is there. They have Glenn Phillips there as well. Shamar Josephs, who we mentioned, Hetmeyer, who you mentioned earlier in the piece, Akil Hussein. So a very, 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 very good team. This team, sorry, let me go over that because I don't think this is the player. So let me go over it. My apologies. I think a couple of the names that I called just now don't actually play for the Warriors. So let's go over some of the names. So likes of Glenn Phillips, Shea Hope, right? Romario Shepherd, Shamar Josephs, Carrie Pierre, Imran Tahir. Again, a very, very, very good team. And they've been unbeaten so far in the tournament. You think they are the favorites, the Amazon Warriors?
So I think yeah. I mean, I would say the Guyana Amazon Warriors are favored to win the CPL 2026. They really started out really good. They have been undefeated so far, and in terms of their net run rate, Davian, they're top of the standing. So what they have at their disposal, again, I'm going to look at what they have, what they're utilizing in terms of players. You talk about likes of Shai Hope and Hetmeyer. They have those tried, tested, proven players. And again, each season you have to approach it on a merit. And I think what I have seen so far of the teams that have been the most solid in terms of bat and ball is the Warriors. And I mean, it's early to call, but you have to call it based on what you have seen so far. And I think at this point tonight, asking me who you think is likely to win, I would have to say the Warriors. Until they have proven otherwise, I am going to say they are, because they have started out the best and have produced the best result to date.
Indeed. Sir Nash, do we go to a quick break and come back and wrap things up?
VW Investments Company Limited, Christiana Main Street, Spaldings, Clarendon. Quick exchange, no hassle, best rates. Call them at 876-964-0604 or 876-964-9370. J-Win Pharmacy Limited, Samfor Plaza in Spalding, Clarendon, the leading pharmacy in the area that specializes in pharmaceuticals, general over-the-counter items and cosmetics. They stock various self-care items and household items. Contact them at 876-956-0930 or 876-371-6781. here to provide just what you need.
Nine 31, make that 9:32 over back to our host and guest, Davion Nugent.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back. We're going to wrap up the discussion on CPL now. O'Shea, I mean, the winners of CPL 2025, that was the Trinbago Knight Riders. They actually beat the Amazon Warriors in that final. They're not doing too well right now, to put it mildly. I think they are sixth. They're actually lower than Jamaica. They've played 3 matches though, so they've played half the amount of matches we've played. But somebody would say they've also gained half the amount of points. They're normally a powerhouse in regional T20 cricket. Not happening for them at the moment. The Trinbago Knight Riders.
So if we'd ever say there's a surprising team, or a team that surprises, because they were one of the early favorites, if you ask me, to win or to challenge the Amazon Warriors for the title. But so far, they have really not started out as many people expect them to. So, yet with Nicholas Puran and those others in their setup, they were probably amongst the 2 favored, if you ask anybody. Jamaica, even with the likes of Ravman Powell, and I've always been in many people's book for this season a dark horse. But I think Trinidad, what I can tell you, David, Trinidad is a team that is like you get a average start and a good finish. So I'm going to expect them to pick up the pace. So if there's any team that I think can recover sufficiently to finish strong, it's going to be the Night Warriors. So I am, surprised where they are now, but I'm not going to think they're going to stay there for much longer, considering that they know what's at stake. And I expect them to really change gear, pick up momentum, and finish stronger. Still looking for them to be in the final with probably the Warriors. Those are my 2 teams. Again, it's predictions, but the games have to be played. But I'm still thinking they can go all the way.
Yeah, and just got confirmation that the Royals, they've lost their first match. Lost to the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons, made 155 for 5. The Royals bowled out for 125, so they've lost by 30 runs. So first defeat to the Barbados Royals. I know I said we're going to wrap it up, but I can't leave the program without talking a little bit of football. The EPL is back on. And if you go to the EPL table, you look at the table right now, you're wondering, what's going on? It's okay, folks. It's just the first matches, the first round of matches. So Brighton, they lead the EPL currently. I wonder how many times Brighton has led the EPL. You can't talk to them right now. Brighton lead. They lead. Then it's Brentford, Arsenal, the defending champions, Hull City, the newbies, Everton, Chelsea, Ipswich. So the top 7 or so teams, it's not necessarily teams that you look at: Brentford, Brighton, Hull, Ipswich. It's kind of funny to look at the table right now and see some of these teams. But as I said, early season, O'Shea.
I mean, strange enough, David, today I was at work and I was having a conversation with with a client, and he was asking me what team I support, and I was like, I don't really have a team, but when I sent him what's happening in the EPL, and he was telling me in terms of what's happening, the teams that were already out front and leading. And when I heard the team that he called, he just called the name. I'm like, that means the league just start. And he was laughing and saying, boy, it just start, of course. But again, that's the only consolation most of those big clubs have, Davian. It's the first round, but for whatever it's worth, the history books will show that Brighton was leading the EPL at one point in the season. I mean, no no need to make any big fuss or noise just yet. They say in these early rounds, you just enjoy the football, watch teams assemble themselves, um, find back, especially coming off a very outstanding World Cup, which I think a lot of persons are now more intrigued to see what these club championships will bring, because the World Cup did discover or unfold a lot of outstanding talents, David. That was one of the, I think, was the standing point of the World Cup. Many young talents, whether it's in the Spanish league or the German league, whatever areas you're gonna look now, you're gonna look for those outstanding talents. And I think EPL has that equal share of people that are gonna come up this year and surprise. And I think there are gonna be some teams that will surprise others, while the traditional juggernauts are gonna fancy their chance that as the next rounds come up, there's nothing to worry about. So I'd say to the fans, just enjoy now. This is just the moment of getting your beer, getting your whatever favorite drink you want. And it's now is the time to have some objective discussions, looking at where your team will be in the next few rounds. But for now, yeah, good luck for some teams already.
Yeah, I mean it's an early season, and you don't really want to um, put much stock in it. But I mean, a shock defeat for Man United to Hull City. Many people were expecting Hull to be clobbered. Didn't happen. It was actually Hull who did the clobbering, beating Man U 2 goals to nil. I mean, when you look at the the stats in that game, if you look at the stats alone, you can't believe that Hull won that game, much less won it 2 goals to nil. We got shots in terms of total shots. Hull City 8 shots, Man U 20 shots. Shots on target, 4 shots on target for Hull, 6 on target for Man U. Possession, 28% of the possession to Hull, 72% of the possession to Man United. Passes, 228 passes for Hull, 635 for Man U. So Man U almost did almost 3 times as many passes as Hull. Pass accuracy, again, 74% for Hull, 90% for Man U. So everyone just making passes. And it's just the stats, not talking about watching the actual game, because you can be making passes and it's just ball is not going anywhere. It's going side to side or it's going back. It's back pass. It's not moving the football forward. So we're just looking at the stats, just the stats alone. If you were to come into the stadium and or you were not at the game and you just saw the stats and you're looking at it and you're saying which side won, you'd pick Man U. It can't be that you have 20 shots and the other side has 8 shots and they beat it 2 goals to nil. But it's interesting. It's interesting. But again, early days. But that loss for Man U must be a gut punch. Must be a gut punch.
Davian, so look at it this way. Your top three from the previous season that has closed, and a team that is coming back into EPL, returning to EPL, and is able to shock you at the first go at it. I mean, it's gonna be heart wrenching, because as I said, Davian, what was surprising for many persons is how much possession Man U had, how dominant they were, but at the same time, nothing was working for them in terms of converting the possession into output. And I mean, All City can only thank themselves for how they start, because this is how you must start. When you return to the highest level, you gotta start strong. And Manchester United, the only good thing, Davey, and lick your wounds and move on. Yeah, you're disappointing your fans so early, and that's what I think a lot of them are saying. If all is able to do that to us at the start, what will happen when we get to the Arsenals and Cities? What will happen then? Because yeah, even though if you're not even yet find that chemistry and that formula that you need to be lethal going forward, you should not be losing to a team that had 28% possession and you have 72 or 73. And you had so many shots on goal, and you were putting them on target. So what was preventing you? The ball is run, but all came up strong on that day. And even if it will never, even if it doesn't happen again for the rest of the season, David, and I think what they can look into say is that they can compete. That is what I got from them on that game. They can compete. And I'm really happy for them. Good way to return, sad start for money.
You know, I was because before the start of the EPL, I did a review day or so before the start of the EPL. Did a review somewhere else, and the consensus amongst everyone, all the analysts was that it's going to be difficult for the new teams to stay up. Very, very difficult. And then the Friday afternoon, Arsenal played Coventry and they beat them 3-0, and everybody was saying, see, I told you. It's going to be difficult for the teams that came up to stay up. And they're going to take a clubbering on game one because the lights and the actions and return to the Premier League. And then the very next day, the other two new promoted teams, they beat their opponents. Ipswich Town beat Sunderland 2-1, and of course we just mentioned Hull beating Man U by 2-0. So two of the three newly promoted teams start with victories, and it's going to be interesting for me if these two truly new promoted team, if they can continue their winning ways and continue to pull off victories. I think another team that escaped the drop last season, a big team, is going to be in trouble. I'm going to. I know. Let me not put it that way. I know there's some Tottenham fans. There are Tottenham fans in Jamaica who last season pulling out their hair because they can't believe where Tottenham was and what happened to Tottenham last year. But I'll tell you, as I said, if these newly promoted teams continue to pick up points and others continue to do well or do relatively well, then Spurs, who just escaped the drop last season, they were 2 points away from the drop. They finished on 41 points, and West Ham finished on 39 points. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but Spurs, who coincidentally they lost 3-0 to I think it was Brentford, they are going to be, if they continue their form from last season and these newly promoted teams continue to pick up points, they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
You know what is so fascinating, David, is that a lot of times the newcomers, and it is probably what you hear in this early discussions concerning EPL, that the newcomers always face that tumultuous task of staying up, because they might come on with limited financial resource and the understanding of what is required to compete at that level. Those things, the externals are usually against them. But as you said, Davian, what they themselves know quite well is that there are teams that manage to escape relegation that aren't gonna be super different this year. And if you think that you can compete even with the bottom half of the table, you're gonna fancy your chance much more when you can start a season by getting something from the bigger teams or the teams who are likely to land in the upper half of the table. It's gonna do well for your chances. It's gonna do well for your chances, and I think that is a beautiful way for All City to start Ipswich Town. Those teams, um, they know, and I believe with their setup and their management now, we'll have to try and prove all the pundits who think that they're going to only come up for one season and go back down, that they can rumble with just about the bigger teams, the best teams in the league, and push come to shove, they're going to battle hard not to avoid relegation, and they are not the favorites to be relegated. That's what they have said based on how they have started so far. They are absolutely not the favorites to be relegated.
Yeah, I love that. By the way, I have to mention my friend Ramon Barneswell. He won yesterday at the Masters Masters
The the World
Athletics
Masters
Championship.
Championship.
Yeah, World's Masters.
I was shocked,
10,
David. I didn't know that Ramon was a master.
yeah,
But when
man, Ramon.
I completely forget that if I was taking this thing serious, I probably could have been a master runner too. When I
Yeah,
look at it, because
Ramon Barneswell is not a youngster. He's not. He's not.
I
And
mean,
he's
because I have known him for almost all his life from his days at UTech running. And that's something I have to commend him with, Davian. You see, when you have a passion and a strong liking for the sport, you just do it because you love it. And I think at this stage, Ramon has put in the work. And people are saying, yeah, putting in the work to run 10-4 is no big deal. But he knows that he knows exactly where his rewards will come. And I'm happy that he decided to compete at this championships, because now it's gonna encourage him to continue toil along, even if he doesn't get anywhere close to his personal best or his previous seasons. He's enjoying the sport, and that is what you need. After you have gotten the serious part of the sport out of the way, the rest of it is just fun and games. And he can tell you, the records will show that he has won a championship, albeit the most insignificant one in many people's book, many persons' book, the World Master Championship. His name is gonna be in that slot for the. I think he's in the 35 to 40 something category. His name
35
will
to
be there,
40.
regardless
Mhm.
of what people think.
Yeah, he's 38 this year. So in January, he turned 38. So he has 2 more years left in this category. And that 1044 into a headwind, by the way, is actually or was well is the a championship record. So he's has 2 years left at the category, and is the record holder. So he's doing well for himself in his niche. Set a personal best a few years ago, 10-1-3, and I remember when he set that personal best, coach Paul Francis was over the moon. There was a lot of fast times. I remember it happening with the likes of Ron Watson. I think it was who was running fast at the time, and others were running fast. But coach Paul Francis was just over the moon with that 10-1 from um, Ramon Barneswell, and it says to you the kind of person that he is. When a coach who was been around a man who has run 10-7s, sorry, not 10-7s, 9-7s, he gets excited about a 10-1. It says a lot about the person, and it says a lot about who he is and what he brings to the table. So had to mention Ramon Barneswell and his heroics and what he has done. As I said, it's about enjoying the sport and enjoying what you do. And I think there's no better example of that than Ramon Barnes. Interestingly, I remember at one time, uh, I'm going to go there because the goat of 100 meters sprinting, Usain Bolt, is just 40. It's just 2 years older than Ramon. I wonder if he wants to be inspired by Mr. Barnes and take up masters sprinting. You see
But
it.
Davian, I know you were gonna go there. I could have predicted you were gonna go there. But I can tell you one thing Ramon will tell you for sure that if there's any chance in his lifetime to beat Usain Bolt would be now. And I'm sure Usain Bolt knows quite well. If there's any chance in his career to lose to Ramon Barneswell and the others, is now. So he's gonna
There's no.
stay on the other side. And I would not wrong him. Stay on the other side. Enjoy, especially his recent happening and milestones. Enjoy that. And let the others who really has a strong affinity for track and field stay out in the sun and enjoy doing what they're doing, because many are sprinters, especially even at the masters level, would wish for, and let me just say at this juncture that Ramon is enjoying company of many greats. Even from Jamaica, we're talking about the likes of James Beckford, Ian Wheatley, those persons are competing at the Masters game. So he's in company, and many outstanding US athletes in the past are competing, and other from other nations. So you say, but know that a lot of them would have wished to compete with him and would have wished to beat him in his heyday. They didn't get a chance. He's not going to allow them to do it now. So that chapter is closed. Ironically, David, when I looked at the age, I was saying, so the likes of Shelly and Fraser Price, when no, even without training this year, could have won another title and keep on going. I would have probably wanted to see her there. When I saw Veronica Campbell, but I always wondered to myself, the men will continue to try at the Masters League, but the women tend to call it a day. Once it is done, it's done. Ironically, if you look at the 40, I think it was the 40 to 44, when Merlin Hunter was 44, she was in the semi-finals at the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And now I see young ladies running at 44 at the Masters. I was saying to myself, nobody probably told Merlin that she probably could have competed at both games in her time, and all records that now exist at the game would have been hers. And they would have been untouchable, because these young ladies are running 13 seconds. And at 44, Merlin Natty was running 11 low. So it is for some their choice to continue. For others, like Usain Bolt, he has done it all. No need to come back.
And interestingly, we talk about the meet record. So the meet record held now by Barneswell at 10:44. The age group record, the actual age group record, so the 35 to 39 age group record held by Justin Gatlin, 9.87. So he holds that age group record. The 40 to 44 age group record held by Kim Collins at 9.93. So there were some pretty fast sprinters at those ages.
And I think Shelly Fraser probably might have won the record.
Yeah, man. I think Shelly does have a 35 to 39 record. Yeah. And the 35 to 39 record is very fast as well. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Probably don't understand, Davian, is that once you get to that age bracket, whether you're competing against the what would say the athletics proper, or you're competing in the masters category, once you're in that age range, you will, and if I'm not lying, Merlin might have had that record for the 44. I'm trying to remember. I'm not gonna say yes.
So yeah, you are right. So the 30 to 39 record is held by Shelly-Ann Fraser Price, set in August. That's August 10th, 2022. That record 10.62. So yeah, she holds that age group record. And it is considered a Masters age group record, although it's one of the fastest times ever run. That 10.62 is considered a Masters record, and that shows you the kind of athlete that Shelly was. that at in master's age, she's running times that people can only dream about. One of the top
Absolutely.
10 times ever run, 10:62, Shelley Ann Fraser, August 10th, 2022. She holds that record. The 40 to 44 record is held by Merlene Joyce Otti. And that was set in 2004, I think, at the Olympics in 2004. The same one that Veronica Campbell won the 200 meters, finished second in the 100 meters. The record for that age group, 11.09 by Merlene Otti. So she still holds that record now for 22 years. 22 years, and she continues to hold that record. Again, shows you the longevity of Merlene Otti. I don't know if Shelley wants to take a look at that record 11.09 and go after Merlene's record, because Merlene actually held the record before Shelley broke it. I remember distinctively somebody mentioning that when it happened, the 10:62. So she broke Merlene's master's record for 30 to 30, 35 to 39, and Merlene still holds her record at 40 to 44. So both ladies examples of excellence and longevity. I want to hail both of them. So we're just about 2 minutes or so before we cut off, O'Shea. I mean, it's been a fantastic time today. We talked about track and field, we talked about cricket, we talked about football, EPL coming up, by the way, soon, folks. Again on the weekend, you have to watch the football. Anything else before we cut off? We have just about a minute or so to go.
I mean, it's summer. The time is hot, but I mean, there's a lot of sports happening, Dave. And like you said, this is really where we have to soak it up, because sports, football, cricket, all of those things are gonna get more. Um, this is just the start of it for what is to come in the seasons, and I'm excited to see what will happen in the schoolboy season. I'm excited to see what will happen in the rest of the CPL, and also for the big one for track and field 2026, which I think is the World Ultimate Championships, which comes up in a few weeks. I think about 3 weeks from now, where all the best of the world champions, the Diamond League champions, will meet the best of what the last 2 seasons have seen. So if you are thinking that everything concerning track and field has been done for the year, I'll say to you it's not yet done, because there's such a thing as the World Ultimate Championships. And for the Jamaicans and the Jamaican fans, a lot of our athletes are in pole positions to qualify or to at least get a good shot at being at the World Ultimate Championship. So look forward to that. Show up, support them as usual, and I think we're gonna see some of the best performances at that championship.
You know, as I mentioned, that I can't let you go without talking about it. O'Shea, well, might have lost O'Shea, but the school, when we come back on Saturday, we're going to talk about it because we have some time. So we do have some time to discuss it. The schoolboy football, which O'Shea mentioned, and the change in format, where we have now basically two tiers. And round one will see the unseeded teams, and then round two, the top unseeded teams will join the 16 seeded teams for the Manning Cup. We'll have a discussion about that next week. But we've actually come to the end of the program for today. So before I go, I want to say to you, God bless you. And
So just
God
before
bless
you wrap, Dave, and I might
Yes.
just comment on that, because sorry for that, the camera made a quick glitch. But just to let you know that last thing you said, it should be a very interesting situation. I'm happy you're gonna go there, because a lot of persons like myself are saying it was time for us to move to a tiered system. The writing was on the wall. So I am happy that Issa took that suggestions real serious, and it should make for an interesting season going forward, because I think it's gonna be for the greater good than it is gonna take away from the product that already is schoolboy football. So look forward to that. But I can tell already I agree with that
Yeah,
sort of
so
approach and
yeah, I
format
think
going forward.
no. I think we're gonna have a more fulsome discussion on it next week. Next when we're back. I think on Saturday we're back. I'll have some. Maybe you're on. Maybe somebody's on. Else is on. But we'll have a discussion about it. I think it's interesting. But for today, we've actually come to the end of the program. So again, I want to say to the folks at home, God bless you. God bless Jamaica.